Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered. I'm your host, Cheps McFarlane.
As much as we share each other's perspectives, we have the opportunity to learn from one another.
Our stories are powerful and needed for the world.
It took a pandemic like this for us to think.
I have focused on using my art as a tool.
Because the opportunities are vast.
And we have a crucial moment on which to engage in that study right now.
We want more people on board.
For justice, equality, and liberty.
I'm your host here, Cheps McFarlane. Welcome to Unfiltered. Let's get started. Hello, happy Saturday to all our viewers. Welcome to another episode of Unfiltered. Thank you for joining the show. We are extremely pleased to have you join our show today. We welcome everybody. We're going to have a great show. We have a great guest, Mr. Adam Guzman Poole, who is a fantastic human. And we would also be joined by Mr. Wesley Petit, who's a regular contributor on the show. And we are going to have a great discussion. So thank you all for joining. And as we always say at the beginning of our shows, the views expressed on these shows, the opinions do not reflect that of the employers of the host or any of the guests on the show. They are those of the show Unfiltered only, and our guests as their persons. So let's get right to the chase of it. I have Adam in the green room and Wesley ready to join us. Folks, come in at any time. I am going to introduce you to our guest, Adam. There he is. Hello, welcome. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Adam's biography. Adam is a long-term activist, social innovator, and self-employed change maker. He is a world traveler and currently resides in Cuzco, Peru. I hope I said that right. Cuzco, Peru. Adam evokes a signature ingenuity in both the physical and the spiritual world. Adam uses his hands to produce artisan works of art with his organization, Manifesto Crafts. Adam runs an organization called Stories for the Soul that organizes forums for important conversations that both inspire and empower communities. Adam has been described by a past client and fellow practitioner as a sort of benevolent that appears with a smile and calming word at the times you need him most. Providing visionary and strategic development, facilitation, Adam helps organizations in various fields to take their operations to a more meaningful and holistic level. Adam helps to use the tools that life provides to orientate people around lifelong learning. Adam often shares important stories of struggles and discovery on social media to encourage those in his networks to reflect deeply on their own lives and risk discovering the richer complexity of the world around us. He ended a recent post with a closing statement. In order to heal our troubled world, we all need to actively participate in the process of this healing. It takes having tough conversations, taking the time to educate oneself on the sufferings of those inflicted with racism, and actively creating new ways of being in the world. Please comment, please share. This is a battle we must all engage in. Clearly, Adam shares the vision of a more deliberative and engaged world that we are trying to create at Unfiltered. And so this is sure to be another revelatory discussion that only leads to more conversation. So let's get started. Adam, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That's a beautiful introduction. Where did you get all that information? This is great. Yeah.
I might have made a couple contributions based on our past experience together, Adam. But yeah, you have a couple updates to make on that bio. So yeah, like what are you up to nowadays?
Yeah. Humbly honored. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that Wes had a lot to do with the crafting of this intro based on your past interactions. I'm actually meeting you for the first time. I should tell our viewers that, and it's such a great pleasure. We've been talking in the background, and this is our first, face-to-face meet. So that's really cool. So I just want to jump right into it. What issues are you catching up with, or what issues currently are catching your attention, and what are the viable strategies that you see popping up to address these issues?
I would have to say that unless you're living under a rock, it's probably the same thing for most people, and that there's the mass scale global pandemic, what's going on in the world, and then what's happening with race relations due to what happened with George Floyd. And so for me, I think one of the valuable strategies of addressing these issues is, well, first off, the most important thing is that people are out there, they're actually speaking up and addressing what's going on, because these issues actually, they've been there for so long, but because of this, like the mass scale protest, it's actually bringing it to people's awareness, the people that don't actually know that this is going on, which is amazing, because that's the first step to any change is first awareness. It's catching that pattern, and we've been in a pattern of mass scale asleepness and ignorance, right? And right now the masses are starting to be like, oh wow, okay, racism is actually, that's in Canada, that's in the state, I didn't know that. So there's a lot of people like it's like starting to wake up that have been asleep for a very long time. So these protests are crucial to bringing that awareness, and with that awareness, then there's room and spaciousness to start like directing the force. Okay, what do we do now that it's on the table? And that comes with that comes with a lot of conversations, like a lot of tough conversations of talking about how do we actually direct our energy towards changing racist policies? How do we direct our energy towards actually addressing it on a systemic level? And that needs to be like a lot of people that haven't been educated on the systemic racism. There needs to be a lot of education for a lot of white folks, and coming together and discussing like and educating oneself about this awareness, because when we like, education is that first step, and then we need to talk about like, okay, how do we actually dismantle racism? And that's something that is, it's a huge task, but we need to start, and we need to start taking active steps towards it. And I really and it is one of the the people that I love to watch and follow. His name is Michael Beckwith, and he runs a spiritual center in Los Angeles, and he's a beautiful African American man. And what he says is, he says, okay, white people, you need to go and you need to have conversations and you need to talk about how to dismantle racism. He said, because we can point it out, but you're the ones that are going to have to do it. You have to really so that's a lot of work, and people need to be willing to take that step. And if we really want that a healed, loving world, we need to come together. We need to unify. And then brings me to that. So there's that one political area of educating oneself and addressing and changing policies. And then there's the next level, which is I feel like the root level is to have it grounded in spirituality, and grounded in love, grounded in compassion. And when I say that, we need to address these things, because we are whole, in indigenous philosophy, we are made up of 4 parts. We're mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, all within the 4 seasons, right? So you have the spring, the summer, the winter, the fall first, and you can't forget one of them, right? And you can't forget one of them. And I feel like we're trying to address these issues on all these other areas, but you can't forget summer, you can't forget spring, and you need to have this element in there, and which is an element of love and grounded in that place. So I'm a real big believer on coming together in unified prayer and mass scale intention, because with the thoughts and energy that we're putting out into the world creates it, right? This has been known for thousands of years, but now only science is starting to pick it up. And quantum physics shows that, okay, right, we are not just matter. But before we thought we were just a matter-based universe. But when you look at it, when you actually look at it on a quantum level, the nature of reality is mostly energy. So your thoughts, the thoughts that we have, are actually contributing to the world that we're creating. So what are the thoughts that we're putting out into the world? What is that? So is it going to be grounded in a place of anger or rage, or is it going to be from a place of love? And so I'm very, very adamant about people coming together in mass scale prayer, because what happens when you come together in a unified way, trying to do anything. If you and I say we're trying to pick up a really big couch, it would be really difficult, right? But then we got Wes in, and he's there to give us a hand, and then we get another person in, and then here we go, and then it's really easy. And right now, what we're doing is we're aligning our minds with the focus that we want. One mind, one heart, one focus. We can lift up the heavy weight that's been held on many minorities for forever, and really lifting that up, and it makes it a lot easier. And so for those that might question me on this, I have a beautiful study that they've been repeated over and over and over again about the power of intention. And it happened, it was the first scientific study studying intention. And what they did, it was in Washington, D.C. in 1991. And there was a group of meditators. They're called the TM meditators. And they claimed that if a group of people came together, that they would be able to reduce violence in a city. And so scientists said, okay, well, let prove it. So they said, okay, well, we will. So they made a study. They designed a study where they got 6,000 meditators together, and they directed their energy towards Washington, D.C., which at the time was going on an upward peak towards crime. It was just kept rising and rising. And they claimed that they could reduce violence by 20%. And when they brought this to the police commissioner, he said if you could, the likelihood of you reducing violence by 20% is it's like it's snowing in July. And so sure enough, they said, okay, let's do it. 2 months later, 21% and some a little bit reduced violence. And that's just from people meditating. Just like the energy that we're putting out into the world makes a difference, and it makes an impact. And so it's like these prayer vigils, these things, these are important. And at the same time, going out in the front lines, these are important. We need both. And
that's very helpful. So let me sort of deconstruct some of the things you've said. You've said quite a lot. First of all, one thing that stands out from all of what you've said is about the concept of love, which underlies fundamentally everything that we can do collectively or as individuals to advance, our fight against inequality, racism, and discrimination. And you've talked about this world unified prayer session. So I just want to point out that it's interesting because if you look at all the texts on spirituality, whether it's biblical text, Quran, the Hindu text, there is always a foundational alignment of love as a starting point for collective action, and even as a point for tolerance. Whether you're tolerating people that you want to adopt certain principles that you stand for, or whether you're just tolerating them in their own imperfections so that you can build a more cohesive world. So that's an interesting thing that you pointed out. And I wanted to go right away and say, maybe tell us a little bit about this unified, worldwide unified prayer. And I point that out just so that people don't think that we're talking here about Christianity or some specific, religion, but that you were talking about from a very spiritual angle. So it doesn't matter what faith you are, this is something that we can all tap into.
Yeah, essentially that's it. It doesn't matter what name you call it. It really doesn't matter what name you call it. It's that energy of love, and that energy of love that we can connect to and direct it and let it guide our lives. It will only create good things. And so when we reap what we sow, right? So if I'm going out into my garden and I'm sowing my seeds of love, I'm going to get seeds of love. If I'm going out and I'm got my hatred seeds, I'm going to be getting that. So that's just it's just law. Look at the universe, look at the farm, and that's what you get. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to talk more certainly, and I'll see if West wants to come in. Just checking in with our viewers to make sure that our volumes are okay, the sound is coming out clear, and you can hear us 100. If you can, please give us a little nod just so that we know everything is good. Thank you. I can see some thumbs up from the viewers. Also, gentlemen and ladies, please share, invite others to join, start a watch party, and be part of this wonderful conversation. So you've traveled quite a bit. Where have you found unexpected learning during your travels?
Oh, where have I found unexpected learnings on my travel? I would say life is the greatest learning ground, and it is always teaching you if you pay attention. My adopted dad, Leonard Dayrider, is a beautiful medicine man from southern Alberta, and he said, life is always speaking to you. It's always speaking to you if you pay attention, right? It's always paying attention. And the bird could tell you something. Yeah, you have an encounter. My most unexpected learnings are probably just things that any type of conflict that happens, any type of beauty that happens, there's always a lesson in it if we're slow enough. And I think that's what it takes. It takes a slowness and a receptivity to life, because we have so often in life we might have a conversation in our head and we'll ask a question. I wonder what I should do with that. And life will tell you the answer. It'll come in the form of a person. they'll come, and you may be going through something, and then someone comes, and then they reflect exactly what it is you're going through, and that's a point to pay attention to, because life is talking to you. And so I would say that, yeah, this whole life is a great mystery. It's all unexpected.
Right. So that's actually very interesting and very true. We learn so many lessons from life. Wes, I don't know if you have anything to add onto this conversation at this point in time. Jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew this would just be a naturally beautiful conversation. So I'm, also happy to just kind of see how it opens once we kind of peer into to Adam's mind a little bit, heart and mind. But like based on what we're talking about right now is like those natural learnings that come if you're just open to it and moving slow. I thought that was really interesting way of putting it. It was just to slow down and take note of these natural lessons all around us. And but I think that like we're talking from our perspective, and like we are kind of like embracing life with open arms and are kind of attuned to that, and that's not always the case. That people are having that open armed kind of approach to the lessons that life offers. And so in the intro, I situated you as someone who really encourages people to risk exposing themselves to those natural lessons, because it can be really scary sometimes for people that are maybe just a bit more mainstream oriented or for whatever reason. So yeah, I maybe just had a couple you could maybe make a couple points about what you think helps open someone's mind. If we're engaging with someone who has kind of gone on the straight and narrow this forward in their life, and now we're in this unprecedented moment of possible change, how do you think that we can encourage people to be more open to that?
Well, I think that one of the gifts of this unprecedented time, and that it's like this situation of COVID has been like a cosmic sledgehammer and it's kind of been like, whoa, I feel like, whoa, like my old way of being is it it's gonna change. It should, like, there's some, like, everyone's being shaken up and in a totally new way. So that's beautiful, because there's definitely an opening happening in a lot of people, and so I see that opening is there, and there are people looking for something more, because they realize that the old paradigm that we've been living, it's not working. It's not working on a mass scale. It's not working, that we're so busy going, like this, like capitalist society that's just like constant expanding, grow. It's being shown to us that this is unsustainable. And I would say that in order to really help folks, I guess, as for me, it's just when we share our stories, that's stories are one of the greatest tools into navigating and helping people enter that world, because you can tell someone 100 facts, or you can tell them a story, and we are visual beings, and we learn through story. And when we tell our stories and share our stories of these certain awakenings and moments, we actually we allow them to take a shortcut, because they go on the journey with us mentally, and that's the gift, that they don't have to do as much of a work. So I'm a big believer in sharing stories. We can't just say, "Oh, wake up! You should wake up." It just and I also feel that the greatest example is our life. You know, you could preach, you could do this, whatever it is. Let your life be an example of that service. Let your life be an example of that love, of that beauty, and there's just something that draws people in. Like, love is beautiful. You just want more of that. So
right. Almost like I'll go biblical here, but like Christ said, let the light shine through you, right? Like,
exactly.
be a living example of be Christ-like, as they would say, you know. I wanted to ask you this. We are dealing with the times when everything is heated up. There is a lot of emotions in the air, you know, and yet we are asking every human to participate in the discourse. We are saying, hey, participate in these discussions that are going on of the issues, so that we can elevate ourselves beyond where we've been. But there is also a recognition, or I'm hoping there is, that engaging in discourse means also being exposed, or understanding, or tolerating that people are going to be authentic and talk about things that maybe you might find offensive or insensitive, but that is part of the learning, that is part of the education as they engage in discussion. How can we bring our spirituality to bear, so that we can be more tolerant in how we engage in this discourse? Because, as you very well know, tolerance is one of the founding principles of spiritual awakening, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's, like, when we talked about spirituality beforehand, and we were talking about grounding it in love, right? So if we're coming to a conversation and we're grounded in love, and we're coming from that, then that'll be an anchor. That'll be an anchor for, because, so if you imagine that, like, this is a tree, and the roots are love, and you're going to have a tough conversation that might shake up the ego, that might shake up this thing, but it's like, it's rooted, and it has that strong foundation that'll allow you to move through those tough conversations, and be like, and have that ego be broken. And because part of us has to die for something new to be born. That's just the nature.
Yeah, no, that's a very beautiful analogy. I don't know, Wes, if you have something to add onto that. But our viewers, if you're watching and you have comments and you're enjoying it, leave those comments. If there are questions for our guests, leave them in the comment section and we'll pick up on that as we roll through.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking kind of about like the positive. We're looking at the sunny side of things right now, which is definitely where I want to move and think about how we can walk arm in arm towards that sunnier and brighter new normal that I think that we should be embracing. But I also want to talk about the possibility of backsliding. You know, I participated in your group prayer that you live cast from Facebook to demonstrate or to embrace the power of intention in us supporting Wet'suwet'en and how they were under siege. And luckily there's been some success with, really entrenching Indigenous rights in Wet'suwet'en and also in Nova Scotia and Canada-wide. But that seems to be kind of one of the movements that might have been a little bit knocked off kilter by the COVID outbreak. So I'm just kind of wondering about your thoughts, Adam, on any kind of threats the current moment poses to progressive movements.
Yeah, it definitely slows it down because right now I'd say that there are certain things that have been pushed aside based on COVID, because then COVID happened and then everything that was going on is just like the world shut down. And at the same time, that pushed off certain movements that were starting to get some traction. And at the same time, I believe that a big reason that what's happening right now all around the world addressing systemic racism is also because of the COVID movement, right? We have people that have been like waiting away for they've been locked out for 2 months, 60 days, whatever. And also during that time, there's been mass scale prayers all over the world that has been happening since that time. People have been like all over. Even the Pope said, like, he called for a global prayer for healing. And here's the manifestation. Because like, I think sometimes like we pray for things, but we don't realize that sometimes prayer is it might look kind of messy, and it might look kind of messy. And I kind of look at it like, if you imagine that you have a muddy t-shirt and you wash it in a bathtub, and all of a sudden there's like all this smoke, it's all muddy in the bathtub, and all of a sudden you think everything's getting dirty, but that's actually the process of cleaning. So right now there's that process of cleaning, which is happening, and it's going to be kind of chaotic, and it's going to be, and there will be I don't want to say for sure, but I suspect that there will be quite a bit of chaos for this next little bit, and that's a good thing. Like, chaos is a really good thing because it's the time of creation. The universe was created in chaos, and that's where where it's so important to really focus on our intentions, on what it is we're going to plug into this chaos. What is the world we want to see? What is that vision? What is that? And to hold on to it, because there is that like muck. And if we don't hold on to it and we just get wrapped up and sucked in the anger, which could happen, then we'll just create more of the same systems. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wes, I don't know if you had something else to add, but I was just going to say, coming from a Oblivica perspective, we talk about the world not being just as physical as we see. In fact, it says we don't wrestle only against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities and powers, rulers of the world of darkness, beyond what we normally comprehend in the physical realm. So I'm very glad that you talk a lot about this energy and how we have to redirect the energies to create the kind of change that we want to see, even in the moment of chaos. So if I'm wrong, say it. But I think you're saying we need to embrace the chaos of the moment in all its forms, so that through that chaos we can be able to recreate a world that is better than what we had before.
That's yeah. That's really and then back to that analogy of grounding in love, right? Because we will create who we are. We will create what we're putting out into the world, and so yeah, just impregnating this chaos with that focus is going to be that. It's just going to Gandhi, be the change that you want to see, right? If you want peace, be peace. If you want love, be love. And that doesn't mean, I think some people get a little when they hear the word love, they think it's all like rainbows and butterflies, but love is stern. Like love is having a conversation. Love is a mother, like being like, whoa, don't jump in front of that bus. You better watch out. And there's a strength and there is a love in that. So love is very an active force. And it has many shades and many colors. And we need to learn its many different colors, but still let it lead. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Given that we're talking about some really hard discussions that need to happen, given the times, whether we're talking about racism or, climate change or our relationship, with each other, or COVID and the responses, you tell us about how we can have a productive group discussion. What are the elements that are needed for such an open, fruitful, productive, respectful discussion where people are authentic?
Definitely the folks that are joining the discussion, there needs to be a level of openness in the folks. There needs to be that crack, even just a crack of openness for that that space and that discussion to happen through. Because if you're just going against a wall and someone's not open at all, it sometimes is a waste of energy. So there needs to be a level of openness, and there needs to be a level of rapport within the group where people are actually able to see each other and feel each other. And then people need to listen. Everyone needs to listen. And there needs to be a container where people feel safe, where they can feel heard, because it could be really hard for some white folks hearing a lot of some of the tough shit that's going on with a lot of our brothers and sisters in the world, and then it can also be hard for them to speak to, right? So there needs to be a level of spaciousness where people feel like, okay, it's safe that I can talk, that I can be vulnerable, and also that we can have this conversation and realize that there needs to be that foundation of coming back to we are all human, and if that container is there, and we're human, we're family, and we're here to work this out. Because if you have a level of like, okay, we're family, we're here, we got each other, I like you're willing to stick through it because it's not always easy being with your family, but though that's where we grow.
Yeah, I got a question about that. Is because I met you when you were providing facilitation services to the Carlton Food Collective. And we were just a bunch of scrappy activists that really wanted to make a change in the world, but just weren't really well coordinated. We didn't have that family sense. We didn't have that strong rapport that you said is really necessary for collective action. So, and also along with the many analogies that we've covered, we have the cosmic sledgehammer, the tree that rooted in love, and you mentioned another one. But like those are the tools that you have and you offer people to warm them up for that discussion and equip them for that discussion. So a question that I have kind of in my head is like, do we need facilitators out there, at large, organizing people? Is it something that could be organized, or is this something that people have to come about themselves in their respective communities?
Well, if it's yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like sometimes you don't. Sometimes if you're well educated and you can speak on a certain subject, it's okay to bring it up with say someone you meet on the bus, or a family member, and learning about really, like, we all have the tools to listen, right? We all have the tools to listen and be like, okay, what's that like for you? What is your world like? And if we can listen to that other person, and then we can actually be able to address certain thoughts. We can offer certain stories and experiences that we know. We can offer different things to open them up to this world, to educate. And but when you're working in I feel like in organizations, communities, it's very important to have someone facilitating, to holding, because you need to create a container. Like when we were at the Carlton Food Collective, I created a container, and there's actually like a system that's actually done that helps create that cohesive environment where people can feel heard, feel understood, where they feel listened to, and all these things. And that definitely it helps on a larger scale to have someone who is designing it so that that space is created.
Mm. Wow, powerful conversation. Fellow viewers, if you're just joining us, this is Unfiltered. We have our guest, Mr. Adam Poole Guzman. He is a spiritually enlightened human, and he's been working us through through some strategies that we can use in these times as we deal with all of the things that are plaguing our planet and our shared humanity. And we have touched on a key issue, which is that we are family, and that all of our actions should be grounded or rooted in love. Speaking of love, I see you have a feather on your hands as you were talking. Tell us a little bit about the significance of that.
Oh, the feather? Oh, yes. It's this is I was my background is I'm half my mother, her line is British South African, and my father is Venezuelan, and I have indigenous roots there, but due to colonialism, I never was able to, like, we've lost that part of the culture. Mm. And when I was raised in the Philippines, but when I came to Canada, it was the indigenous community that welcomed me in and really raised my spirit. Mm. So for like, I'm so grateful to the Algonquin people, which the land I live on now. I'm so grateful and honored to my adopted spiritual father, Leonard Dayrider, who has just taught me how to be human. taught me to walk in a good way. And this is just it's just a tool to anchor and ground in that spirit. So yeah.
Wow, powerful, powerful, and that actually explains, or at least gives a peek to our viewers about how we talk about our shared humanity, your connections from Venezuela to the Philippines to Canada to Britain. You know, all of that is what makes you who you are, and similarly, each and every one of us, and we can only celebrate. Our differences in a way that edifies us. Thank you so much. Wes, do you think there are any comments from the comment section that we should be looking at?
There's a longer comment that just popped up from Diane Bertrand, but I think it's more of just a comment or a thought that she's sharing rather than a question. But yeah, I really want to encourage people in the comment section to pop some questions. We'll definitely address those in the time we have remaining. Everyone's kind of seeing this conversation from their own perspective. And yeah, I do see that there is a question at the bottom of Diane's comment. And it is, how would spirituality break through to those tough nuts out there that are so full of racism? So of course we know a lot of people that are kind of on the fence that we're going to be able to persuade in a certain way, but what about people that really have they aren't rooted in love, they're rooted in something else? How do we help them out?
I believe that those people, sometimes it might not be worth our energy towards putting that energy in it, and there's only so much. It's almost like we need to raise the vibration of the whole consciousness where it is just where that so much is, it changes the whole the universe that we live in, right? Because those tough nuts are they're tough. They're tough, and it needs a lot of weight. It needs a lot of weight. And when we look at any type of social change, it's going to take time. It's going to take time for that to work. But if we lead with that energy, then we'll only create more of it. And so, and then I'll go back into that, back into the energy of those universal intentions. And when we're like coming together in that way, that we raise the vibration of like humanity enough that it just dissolves itself. We have a lot to go before then, but we'll embrace the chaos and keep moving towards it. So
yeah, and I kind of see the beginning of another metaphor for our episode here, which is maybe like tough nuts will soften given the right environment. You know, we just got to kind of break that down a little bit. And I do agree with you, and I've heard this sentiment before in other circles that are trying to do progressive organizing, is people that just aren't on board, that they aren't worth their time. And I can agree to that with that to a degree, but there's also this other phrase that people would say a lot. They're like, there's people that are awake, there's people that are sleeping, and there's people that are dead, and that's like kind of measuring their degree of involvement in the movement. So active people want to organize with them, sleeping people want to wake them up, bring them into the movement, dead people, which are these tough nuts we're talking about, just don't even bother with them. And I would always respond to that, well, how do you tell if someone's sleeping or dead? You need to interact with them. And I think that more interaction should always be encouraged, because I don't think that as many people that we view as the tough nuts or the entrenched, hateful people, I think that a lot more of those people are actually more on the fence than we think. So I think that interaction should always be encouraged, but definitely we don't want to compromise our movement and harm how welcoming it is to other people by compromising around the tough nuts. We've got to just break them down through changing the environment around them. I really agree.
I want to actually jump and add on that, because it's really it's something to really be mindful of, especially in activist movements, because when people are say they're asleep and they want to help and they want to make a difference in certain way, but maybe they don't know all the lingo. Maybe they don't know they don't know the what safe space is, what LGBT, and then it's like we need to give people that spaciousness to learn. And because when I first went into the activist movement, I was just I was a hippie, right? So I was just oh yeah, all love and this and that, right? And I definitely I got pushed out. I was in some pretty serious anarchist groups, and I was singled out as and actually pushed away, and I could have added a lot of value to that. So I think that's really something that needs to be as activists to be really mindful of, okay, just let people learn, let people fuck up a little bit, it's okay. And we're coming back down to that place of family. We need to learn together and be gentle with each other and help each other grow together.
Yeah, totally. Because in between being woke and asleep, you're a little bit drowsy sometimes. So you got to get some progressive caffeine or something like that. We share each other a cup of coffee.
Right. And also part of the discussion about bringing people into the conversation, in line with what we're talking about, some people being a tough nut to crack. I look at the analogy of trying to learn a new language. You only learn that language if you speak it and try to write it. And people who you try to speak that language to would see that you're putting in an effort, to try to speak the language and learn it. And so when they deal with you, they can be more tolerant in terms of the mistakes that you make as you're speaking, because they know that you're trying to be better at that language. But, if you tell somebody that, hey, I want to speak this language, but you're not making any other efforts, then it's pretty much out there and you can tell that there's no effort being made, right? So I think we can look at it in that respect also when we're trying to gauge who we're interacting with in these hard conversations and trying to bring them into the fold of progressive thought and values.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, talk to us a little bit about the World Unified Prayer. I think that's something that's interesting. You're planning on having that. There is definitely power in prayer, especially when that prayer is done as a collective. Again, I'm just going to draw from my Judo-Christian background. The Bible says that, where 2 or 3 are gathered and they make a commitment to something, that commitment stands, right? So I feel like you talking about bringing people into a unified worldwide prayer is about that intention to make a pronouncement in the spiritual realm about something. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, the power of that prayer, where 2 or 3 gather, there I am. There's that energy. There's that you're bringing in something more, and if we're bringing in, I'm just the energy of family again. Mother Teresa said that one of the greatest ways in any family conflict, the greatest things that the first thing that we need to do is pray together. And then there's that other saying that families that pray together stay together. So this the unified prayer is it actually happened. It's been going on for the past I think it's 23 years now. I might completely get that number wrong, but it's for Chief Arvel Looking Horse had this vision of bringing together people during this time to come together in a unified prayer in this time of chaos, because it was predicted. There were prophecies that this time was going to happen, and that we needed to come back to a more spiritual center, because there's also another prophecy, which is the Seven Fires prophecy, which is an indigenous prophecy that says humanity will come between a fork and a road, and that fork is between either technology or a more spiritually grounded, simpler way of being. And so that's our choice. And if we go down the one of technology, we're going down the road of destruction of all of humanity. And if we go down the one of spirit, it speaks of a time of unity, of healing, of all these things. So when we're coming together in this unified prayer, we're making that choice to go down that road, and putting that collective energy and intention. And like we said earlier, is our thoughts. This is not a matter-dense universe. Our thoughts are things. And the energy that we're putting out with our thoughts and our intentions are going to create that world. So this unified prayer, which is tomorrow, so all the viewers that are watching this, please take that time tomorrow and join. You can write like World Peace Prayer Day, and there's a lot of streaming things going on about that. And take that time to pray, like to set that intention of the world that we want to see, not what we don't want. I think that's really important to it's like, try to don't think of a red elephant. Don't think of it. Don't think of a red elephant. What do you got? Right? So it's just like, what is the world we want? We want unity. We want peace. We want people coming together. And so that's like really important when we're talking about prayer and intention, to really like focus on what it is, that world that we want to create.
Very powerful. We're coming up to the top of the hour here. You know, we can have these conversations go on for so long, but we will promise that we will have Adam back and talking on this topic of spirituality, but also more other areas where, you know, we can use his knowledge. Adam, I want to ask you one final question, and is, are there any books or sources of learning that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Books or sources of learning, I would say that it's really, really important to, I recommend reading autobiographies or biographies of people grounded in that way of being. I just read Mother Teresa, because when you read an autobiography or a biography, you begin to think like that person. You begin to live your life, like how they view the world, how they walk in the world becomes part of your very nature. And so I recommend like Gandhi, Mother Teresa. Those are very beautiful people if you want to exemplify these qualities of love into the world, feeding yourself with that. There's beautiful books just on presence, Power of Now, always very good one, being here. Yeah.
That's a good recommendation.
Oh, one more thing. One more. Sorry. But yeah, really, I'd say really embracing yourself in different, ancient scriptures, like the wisdom scriptures, because we become like what we listen to. If you read a business book, you're going to get thoughts of business people. But if you read if you read the Bible, the Quran, these books that are grounded in that, your brain is going to be infused with that energy. So it'll help you with everything in life. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Adam. It's been a great, great pleasure chatting with you. Wes, do you have any further comments?
I just completely agree. This is a great episode of Unfiltered. Once again, I knew Adam would bring a lot to the table, and although we all seem to be on the same page about what this moment represents, it is still great to exchange thoughts with each other because we help each other, make sense of this moment and how we are articulating it with the other people we're talking to. So thanks very much, Adam.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Adam, if you have some final comments.
I just want to say it was just such an honor and a real gift to share this space with you both. So, and if anyone's watching, just such a real gift. So thank you.
I want to thank all of our viewers who have joined us today live. Alexa Dodge, Flourishing Ruth, Paolo Dino, Shannon, Diane Bertrand, Taylor, Paolo Donato, everybody who has joined us today, Elena. I want to give you all a shout out. Thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you for watching. This has been a great episode. Thank you so much, Adam. We will have Adam again. Look out for our next episode next Saturday. It's going to be a great show. We are going to be mirroring our conversations with the times and helping us decipher how we should contribute to making the times more valuable and productive in our lives. So thank you, everyone. It's been great, and see you next week.